Oh,
We've had those issues before too. We had this strange issue. Want to put a sidewalk in, and the people were having a problem with their bushes, and that they wanted the city to move their bushes and stuff.
We had that in Locust too a few years ago also.
this is the first time I've squashed somebody's dreams and by putting a sidewalk in place. So it's new for me.
Give yourself a couple years and you get jaded. You're like, yeah, it was drugs.
Just a couple of shrubs.
A great big tree of Angela.
There's always an issue. You never make everyone happy.
I'm not out to make people happy. I just want to make, I was just like, oh, I didn't think about that. And then my wife lectured me, you're the one who's always worried about. I'm like, oh, right away, and eminent domain. And didn't figure that out. What?
Public right away.
Well,
It's not private property.
yeah.
Jersey barriers in place, Jersey barriers in front of the arborvitae. Forget the sidewalk.
That's right. It's a safety, public safety issue. We got to put Jersey barriers
We're just
in.
making things worse. It doesn't kind of get so
Wow, is it time for that meeting?
You guys want to talk about Jason now?
It doesn't have to shift the it's not that.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we'll run through our actual items of business this evening. We'll start the Community Development Committee meeting with all of our members here present. Thank you very much. And the first item of business is resolution. Sullivan, Senior Planning, what are you now?
Planning and Building Supervisor.
There you go. Okay, check. Thank you.
So this is just a new ILA with City of Sumner. We have had the ILA with them since 2019. It expired. They didn't request an extension before it expired. So in talking with Kathleen, her recommendation was that we get a new interlocal. It has taken them a while to get it through their process for some reason. We've been doing this. It hasn't been a problem, but it just basically would have been an extension if it hadn't already expired. But it's just to send our building inspector down to Sumner when their only inspector can't cover inspections, and we can deny to go down there if we're swamped or don't have capacity.
Same kind of thing we do with what, Ording at one
Yep.
point? Something like that. Big rate changes or anything?
No, we did look at the rates for fully loaded costs for all the inspectors, plus any increase over the next couple of years,
Sure.
plus an administrative cost, and then we also get mileage to and from our city.
Yeah, I really tried to figure out what could be bad about this.
No, love ILAs, actually.
I'm good.
Good job. We'll move that to the consent
I
agenda.
would think so.
Jason, he knows it already on the phone.
It is, I believe so. I
Uh,
was going to send them all tonight before I left anyway.
Next item of business, resolution 3021.
So this is a contract with LDC, who already has an on-call contract. The CDC approved that on-call contract late last year, and this would be part of just doing some on-call work for us. This was work that was identified in the Planning Commission's work plan, basically to look at changes in state law, changes as a result of the new countywide planning policies, and also the multi-county planning policies, and identify areas where there's a gap between what's mandated to be in our comprehensive plan and the stuff that we don't have. So we know what we're going to have to do as part of the periodic update. They're not establishing the new policy, only identifying if there's either an inconsistency or a gap. You need to have policies on X, and we don't have policies on X. And then giving us a cost estimate to do all of those updates, so that we'll have some documentation for any sort of budgetary request for the next biennium.
It took a lot of money. How they established $16,000? Where they get that figure from?
It's this one's pure hourly rates almost.
Okay, so it may not be this amount. It may vary.
It may be less. It's an hourly rate.
Usually
thing.
it's what they want to spend.
I know. We have so many of this that come through us. It'll take us $50,000 for us to evaluate the situation, and
Oh, yeah.
It's a two-sided coin, and I'm sure Ryan will jump into this. This was one of those ones that we had different staff arrangements, we may be doing it differently, but we just don't have a capacity to handle this.
And just to tag on to that, hopefully during but at some point we have to look at how much we're expending on how much we'd be willing to spend. There is a trade-off there. There is a tipping. Touching on. I do think we need to look at that. For years and years, the default has always been go to consultants. Well,
Right.
you know, I'm starting to compile data that shows we may really want to consult.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So that being said, you know, we definitely pick consultants. You know, we can't base it on our selection on price, but we do try and base it on obviously on who's going to provide the best service. In this case, Jason has a relationship that they get it done as quickly as possible and have a history budget. So that's about all you can really ask for with a consultant.
And Clay, one reason we really like Clay, or LDC and Clay White, Clay White is a former planning director for Shinomis County and also worked at local government. So he understands local government and how we operate and the need to be.
I've heard his name before.
Yeah,
I
I mean, John's worked with him. I've worked with him when he was on the public side. He just has gone over to the private side a couple of years ago. But a lot of his staff he brought over from the public side too. So he has a staff that understands local government. They haven't just always been in a
Jason, you met him at a council meeting with the Housing Action Plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Clay.
And that actually helps a little bit on the cost because he knows already a lot of our stuff because he's had to review it when we did the housing area.
Or getting too big to just keep going out with some of this stuff.
So this helps you.
Yeah, I mean, right now with all the hats I'm wearing, just finding time to carve out time to sit down and read state statutes and MPPs and do the drafting work of putting it into a spreadsheet with all the different policies, it just takes time.
You know, on the weekends? I mean, you're on salary, Mike.
Don't listen to him.
I'm fine.
Your key card does not work on the weekend.
Don't push me because John and Ryan know. I'll get it done without be too happy.
That him is the same type of thing, eh? Order to consent, yeah.
30-20.
3032 supplemental work agreement.
So I split these up so we could track them independently.
Sure.
This is our budgetary. This is our code amendment package that we didn't get to last year because we didn't have enough staff. So we're trying to get it done this year. This is really where we go through and look at, is our code working? What can we fix? Are there code sections when I read them and Ryan reads them and one of our associate planner reads them, we all have 3 different interpretations and there's a problem type of thing. So those types of things, when there's inconsistencies, picks up and changes in state law, there should be no big policy shifts. It's just kind of that fine tuning to not let the code get stale or to not address issues that we've seen come up over the couple of years.
So would these guys have anything about looking at the ADU stuff?
No.
I mean, do we have any issues with ADU? I mean, I have one constituent that came to me about ADUs and let's go read it together, right? I remember reading it a couple of years ago. We should walk through that one more time, right?
We do have some ADU code issues that we are going to be working on. They're on the work plan because they are very small in nature and specifically part of our HAP grant. I'm actually going to have those done in-house by one of our associate planners as a training thing because it's a smaller constrained project. And the housing action plan already identified the changes we need to make. So it's just her writing the ordinance and going through the process. So we're going to use it as a training exercise, but we'll be getting those kind of on a separate parallel track. So that when we also send in that ordinance to the Department of Commerce for our grant certification, we're not sending them every other amendment we made this year to our code. So we're going to split those into 2 packages. And this is also, I mean, there's just a lot of documentation. I think you were on the council when we did the first one. There's a table that has, this is all the ordinances we're amending, all the sections we're amending, how we're amending it and why. plus the ordinance, plus SEPA. There's just a lot of technical work that needs to be done.
There was a problem a few years ago when they took care of it, the traffic light in Locust and Benton Memorial Drive. The guy in a wheelchair couldn't reach the button across the street. Repositioned, so I don't know if we have more like that. You know, but that's,
For that 500-year ADA.
yeah, 88 stuff.
It was 1,000 years.
Yeah,
It was a
Almost
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah,
It's a millennial.
I was trying to rush it.
Four millennials,
Yeah.
not 5 millennials, but for them.
Yeah.
Those little things, you know.
I think I'm okay with
You're
this.
okay?
I thought it
I'm
was
fine.
good.
So again, the consent agenda, item A.
I would think so.
All right.
Because really, somebody's gonna do the work, but you're still gonna look at it.
Yeah, I'm
And
still
the
gonna.
Planning commission still sees it, and then
CDC,
we'll still see it.
I just, what this is taking the drafting responsibility off of me, that I don't have time to sit there and just type all day and do basically the drafting side of it.
Consent and development code, and that it does go through the planning agency.
Yeah, the planning commission will have a public meeting on it, then they'll have a public hearing on it, then it comes to CDC, and then it goes to council. And we usually don't go from CDC to council, full council, we usually go CDC to workshop,
Sure.
just because
We want to wear it out. Good.
there's 1,000 things going on in the ordinance, and it's hard to,
Sure.
get explained in one small sentence.
Workshop, you got to drag it out for an hour.
I'm gonna have a 43 point,
Yes.
43
That's the thing.
43 page PowerPoint
They
presentation.
want it coming.
And
they're
I
gonna
want
get
pictures of the
full
affected
package.
areas in
You
the
got
city.
it.
We're gonna remember that. We're gonna remember that.
I'll have a flyby.
It's gonna be a longer walk to my house, guys. Once you move, you won't be able to walk any longer.
A flyby before and after.
Next one would be that resolution for professional services agreement for our wet well, and I don't know, Doug gonna present? He's like hanging out. Didn't want to make the big drive today. That's good. That's good. Smart man.
You know, at $5 a gallon, you know, some people don't want to drive.
It's like you drive an electric vehicle.
Yeah, we're putting in charging stations, so you can't even complain about that.
Okay. Yeah. This is just a professional services agreement for lift station 20 getting the wet well rehab. That is in our sewer comp plan as a project to be done. Actually, it was to be done in 2021. We moved it to 2022 just because of the level of projects we had going last year versus this year, and since it's a biennium budget, you know, we didn't see any issue in just bumping it back 1 year. It is a wet well that it was built, I think, 19 years ago, somewhere around there, and it also has the force main from Mountain Creek Vista development that's to the southeast of there that has a force main that's coming from lift station there coming into it, and that force main is 13,000 feet long. That's really long. What actually happens is sewage kind of moves really slow through that force main, and as it's moving really slow, it starts becoming much more corrosive. Septic is, you know, and when it gets into the wet well at lift station 20, it discharges a lot of corrosive gases, which just eat away the concrete and the lining of the existing wet well at 20. It's to the point where we have like some serious aggregate showing in the wet well. It's getting pretty bad. So we're not replacing the wet well. You know, we're just basically gonna. The plan is to just take everything out, clean it all up, patch everything, and then we're going to use a polyethylene type liner. We're going to spray on there to give it a nice kind of basically a good plastic coating you might think of, and that's inert to the gases that are coming in there, and then at the same time the lid, the concrete lid and metal attached doors that are starting to show wear from the corrosion as well, they'll get replaced. The big issue here is in doing this, we have to take the wet well down and shut it out, take it out of commission while it's happening, which means we got to bypass all the sewage that's coming to this wet well, and that's kind of the big ordeal. We don't think this requires a big design, but we are asking for parametrics here to do some help in just putting together some documents. We're going to do a small works order, a small works call for this, and so they're going to help us put the package together and provide some engineering assistance along the way as well. The $39,560 that they quote here in their scope of work is more than adequate. I've never had a problem with parametrics in this respect for overspending. They usually end up leaving money on the table, to tell you the truth, so I'm not worried about any this going over, and the project we anticipate is going to be well under the budget of the project at $246,000. So when we get all said and done, we anticipate. So we're saying, with the way everything's flying around, inflation and gas prices, who knows what we'll get. So, but that's it.
Well, yeah, Doug, the total 246 is for several lift stations, though, right? Because it's kind of your lift station repair kind of.
No,
bucket.
it's just one. Just
Okay.
lift station 20. That was
For two, because so your budget says 246 on that, though, right? That's what
Yes.
you just mentioned.
yes.
And your budget explanation references lift station 3, station 20.
No, I'm sorry. So LS03 is the project number that's in the sewer comp plan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that is confusing how that looks, but that is
Yeah. I was thinking it was a catch-all for several
Yeah,
lift stations.
yeah. No, it's just lift station 20. What we do nowadays is when we reference the project number within the
Yeah,
comp plan.
definitely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So-
But again, you had 246 budgeted for it, and then you were able to only do it for 40?
Well, that's the design. The construction effort will be, as well. We're at a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
a month
I
ago.
I
Yeah.
missed that.
Yeah.
This is just the design effort. I missed that. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, just helping us put the bid package together, and we're guessing it's going to be about 150,000 for the effort, the actual physical effort. So,
yeah.
Oh, really?
Okay.
That's good news. I was thinking it was going to be like $500,000.
No, more like 200 and.
How long do you anticipate this one lasting?
Record, so they know how much money they have to spend.
I'm gonna put the little bug in your ear right now. That's because this doesn't have any asphalt replacement. Wait till you have to have asphalt replacement. I'm sitting there looking at Ryan right now as I'm saying this.
Is that a subtle hint?
Doug.
Is that a subtle hint? Yeah. It's all good, right? Yeah.
I saw
Hey,
that
Doug,
deep breath.
Nice.
Doug, with this liner, how long do you anticipate it'll last?
Oh.
Well, this is the same material that we've used we used it in lift station 18 that we just redid, and we also had the new lift station 26 that's out in Bonney Lake Estates. They used the same material that we're gonna spec out. I really like it because you can put it on 250 mils. That's a quarter of an inch thick in one coat.
Nice.
And it's like a flexible. It's really flexible. But what I like about it, we used to just use epoxy paint on concrete, and that would just go on like like a 32nd of an inch thick or something like that, and it just peels off within a few years. This stuff, it actually adheres itself right to the concrete, and I anticipate that it will. I'd like to say it's going to last a good 20 plus years.
Probably, at least.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really nice.
How many other lift stations do we have to do like this?
That I am not aware of any that are really this bad. This one's is our really bad one.
Yeah.
Not to say that over the next few years we might start finding others, but we're this one's exceptional because of that. What I pointed out is that force main going from Mountain Creek. And just a little side note, that force main coming from Mountain Creek, that's 13,000 feet long, that has been a pain in our butt since it was built. And we took it over. It's got more issues than just creating corrosive gases into our plant. We do have a project in the books to replace that force main and run it a different direction. Basically over to where Easttown. We have pushed that back for a couple of reasons, and one of those is that we are now hoping that Chris Lear in his plan, that if that gets approved and if all that comes into fruition, that we are going to be able to redirect that force main to the south real short. And
Does Quinn know about this?
We always check with her.
you asked me what time it is, so I'm going to tell you how to build the clock.
So Doug, you got any more information on that Mountain Creek reroute there before I ask my question?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm not going to say.
Yeah, no. We're thinking the same thing, right? So because it was, of course, originally supposed to go to that lift station, the new one that we built out there, right?
Yes.
And
Not originally, but then let's just say after that new one was built, we decided to add it to the flow. But anyways. Let's say, for lack of technical terms, yes, it was going to go there, and it still will.
But isn't there, because see, I hear, there's like resistance to just running it over there basically because there's the thought that, we don't actually have the right of way to do it. But yeah, we do have whatever, is it Charlene Con?
No.
Or we did that, and that's that route, the shortcut to get to it.
Kind of go overland. Yeah. There was a route identified that kind of goes overland. from
Something
lift
like
station
that,
9.
but that's not viable or something, or not, there's something else, some other.
I don't recall there ever being a discussed route.
Yeah, I do.
And I believe at one point she was agreeing to do something like that if she could connect to our sewer system.
Well, no, it was more about relocating the power or whatever it was, or some of the stuff in there. Kind of did that when we did that station out there. So
when we did that power, we got agreement to put that was part of the agreement to put the lift station where we did, and put in how it runs down her driveway.
Yeah, and then redid the.
Yeah, that was part of the agreement there.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I think nobody disagrees that we need to get force main is. So, however that goes, you guys know the thing is like, oh no, you really do need to wait for that development out there, Or if the other thing is, if there's, we can push the other route if that's like, oh well, just do it that way. And maybe you're talking that you have to board or something and it's too expensive and you go.
I think there's options. We just need.
It's a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah, currently with the way it is, it has that belly underneath the creek.
I don't even know how it works.
And
I can't
it's-
believe it even works.
Well, lift station 9 is so low flow that's what creates this whole problem to begin with, because that force main does not turn over, so stuff just sits
Yeah.
and leads
It's
us
a
to
bomb.
problems like this.
Hey, babe. Technical terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Muy bien.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a porta potty sitting there out there not being used on a sunny Sunday afternoon.
I know. Yeah.
Visuals.
So for this particular item, though, I would assume we're going to move this to consent also. Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I'm fine.
or do we
I
want?
mean, if we say no, it's just gonna deteriorate, right?
Oh,
Go
yeah,
away.
yeah,
So you gotta say yes. And the real question is like what you were talking, can you change, what can you do to fix the force main?
Well, that's kind of a separate effort, right? They need
Right.
to do that also. I was encouraging them to.
And we read, Dan,
Well, can
Dan,
you
we
do the
still
force main
recommend that
first,
that needs to
then do
get done.
I don't think it makes really, especially really what it
We do the
amounts to,
forest main
because
first and then do this?
because if they do the force main is going to take a lot longer to do, in my opinion. But and it doesn't matter. The poly coating it's poly coating. Never going to corrode as long as it's put on right and it's that thickness. It's going to be there forever, basically.
Just for your consideration. Just throw that pitch in there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but this
The force main?
Force main, yeah. The only reason I bring it up is because it sounds like the desire was to talk about all of the projects. So that is
Sure.
one that's on there, should you choose to decide to do a different one, or any of them.
Well, to me, it's we got to do these things, obviously,
Yeah.
but that one with the Creekside Force Main is what would be more of a priority than that. This kind of thing kind of is because it's a maintenance thing. It's a right now kind of thing. What else is on that pipeline, if you will, of projects in the sewer system, right? Wouldn't that Force Main be somewhere up?
Certainly is. I believe it was on our capital program for 22.
Right? There you go.
22 or 23. I mean, it was,
It's-
and that's basically how the list
it's
was put together.
22.
Is we just took the capital programs and went.
Well, if it's on 22, how come we don't have a
Well,
design
I
effort?
obviously
Maybe
must
not.
be wrong there, but it was soon. It was soon, and that is why it made it onto the list for potential ARPA funding, because we took our capital program and said, here you go.
Okay, well, I beat that one to death.
Yeah, you did.
Just slipping in there.
Good job.
You got that, Debbie, for. So then next item of business is some self-storage facility thingy.
The minutes are minor corrections.
Oh, minutes. Anybody have minutes?
Yeah.
I assume Tom always takes care of that. Or if anybody cares, Tom takes care of it. Or if he doesn't take care of it, we don't care. Or,
There's one small minor correction. David took care of it.
grade comma self-storage facilities, Jason.
So this is, we're just kind of wanting to get a head nod or consensus of the CDC on which direction we should proceed.
No.
So the quick background is, over the last couple of years, we've seen a significant increase in the amount of self-storage facilities either being proposed to construct or at some level of the permitting process. Currently, right now, we have about 250,000 square feet of self-storage facilities in the city. We have proposals right now that would add another 400,000 square feet, bringing the total up to about 650,000 square feet, so almost a threefold increase. And so we are right now only allowing these storage facilities can only be in the C2 zone, which is, if you're looking at the map, the area is in red, and then in the Easttown zone, which are the areas in brown out in Easttown. There are one existing one in Midtown and one proposed to be in Midtown. The one that's proposed is getting to be there because of the Wazoo development agreement. So those two are kind of weird ones that any changes we make won't apply to. So the question is with the proliferation of self-storage facilities in the city, what do we want to do about them? We did do a quick economic impact analysis, just kind of how much sales tax we got off of the square footage we had, what property tax we got off the structure, not the land, because the land would still be there regardless if it's self-storage or not. It worked out to a whopping 5 cents per square foot. Ryan was shocked when I gave him the math. we had a couple discussions, but it works out. Sales tax, property tax, self-storage works out to about 5 cents. Now, property owners make a lot of money because they're making all the rent from the rent. So the question is we have kind of three options. One is we do nothing, just leave the code as it is, which means they're a conditional use anywhere in red, permitted use out in East Town. Or we remove them as a permitted use. There's lots of different permutations of that. We could set the effective date out. So if you are kind of in that permitting process, you'll have some time to rush your permits in the door before the prohibition goes into effect, because it would typically be a 5-day ordinance. The council could set the effective date out further. And the third option is we leave it as a permitted use, but add additional design and operational requirements. So they just take up a lot of space. We have a limited amount of area, and getting additional commercial lands is not the easiest thing to do. I've been trying
We're trying to push real hard for retail sales, and they keep moving those things in. Yeah.
I've been trying for 10 years to get just between Easttown and 96, they annexed into the city, and have failed 3 times. We're going to try again this time, but I got a different plan. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. But that's why we wanted to bring it to CDC before we started drafting ordinances. We did talk with the Planning Commission. Their consensus was to just prohibit them outright, remove them as a permitted use.
Really? You can
Can you
do
do
that?
that? Can you do that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they are not a constitutionally protected use.
Unless there's dancing going on or something.
Yes,
and then
if there's
we're-
dancing going in it, but they're not built for that. So then they've got other issues.
Oh.
It's like the marijuana use. There's all kinds of different building uses out there that we prohibit in the city. Marijuana, we don't allow high intensity drilling rigs. We don't. I mean, there are.
So as long as the state doesn't. Yeah.
Local zoning decisions are left up to the local decision maker.
I'm real concerned about taking up retail space along 410. We were discussed right on 410, but even back from it.
And we could give them a little thing that says Tahali is now accepting applications.
Yes.
You know, and then-
Tahali, Sumner,
Yeah.
Or
Orton,
between Bonney
Buckley.
Lake to Holly, could put a whole bunch of them out there.
Yeah. Tahali was very proud of their last one. John was in that meeting when they were bragging about their new commercial development, and it was a mini storage facility. We pointed out that it really doesn't add jobs.
Come on, no, they're high.
But yeah, and if you did do like remove it off the
Retail
permitted uses
or-
table, there are things we could put in the code that right now they wouldn't be able to be rebuilt. If the council wanted us to put something in non-conforming uses code that says if it would burn down, they could rebuild. We can also push out we could push out the date if there was that concern, and let people have a clock they're racing against to get their building.
You
permits
can't
in.
stop going in front of Costco now, then, huh?
The one across from the Costco, we have that ship, and the planning commission was that one, but because of the way the development agreement was worded, it basically said there's 300,000 square feet of commercial / retail, and I can't say it's not commercial, so we were kind of stuck with it, and because of the development agreement, they're vested. Now, if the development agreement is not in place, we don't allow them in Midtown Core. We already removed them as a permitted use in Midtown
That's-
Core.
Premier storage number 2, right?
Yes.
Be weird. Think commission.
Their recommendation is to prohibit it, but before we wrote ordinances
Sure,
and
okay.
did public hearings, we wanted to kind of get that.
Was that like a 4-3 or a?
It was
2
it was more like 6-1.
type of thing? Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
Well, I think
So-
Debbie was hee-hawing on
Oh,
the,
yeah, she did fit.
yeah, she didn't vote no, but it was kind of,
So, but right now, it's only permitted in Easttown.
and in the red. Any area that's zoned red is the C2
the
zone,
red and the brown?
and the red it's allowed as a conditional
Well, it's
use.
still, yeah, as a conditional.
Yeah, that just means that you don't get to say, when it's a conditional use, you don't get to say yes or no. It's more of you have higher standards, and they have to go through a public hearing process. But if they meet all the criteria, you still have to say yes at the end of the day.
So how many more storage units are going to go in?
Right now, if everything that's on the list, it's on
Yeah,
page.
that was like, yeah, it was on the 5, 6.
There was 1,
Five.
2,
Five
3,
that are
4.
yellow.
There's 5. There's 5 on the list, and there was one that we were a 6th one. I said 5th one here. I'm sorry, a 6th one that we were hearing about, but haven't had any pre-apps on.
So those yellow ones are the ones.
Yes, that we've,
One is an expansion of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And we've either had a pre-app or we have had permits in. And so the ones that we have permits in the door for are Premier Storage, Stored Here Expansion, and they're already invested. They already have building permits in. And then the Daffodil Storage, we received their design review and CEPA application. So 2 of them are vested of the yellow, and 3 are not.
Oh, okay. I know that, thinking council member.
Well, that's what we brought the CDC
conflicted,
for
of
a
course,
directive.
with,
Well, no, this isn't
property
a
rights
hard
issue,
thing, right? Because somebody bought that, and they're like,
Well, no. Usually they didn't buy it, right? They own the property,
yeah.
and now they want to use it because they're paying taxes on it.
So, and that's what I was saying is if you were to set it out as a prohibited use, you could say, hey, we want to put out that effective date 60
5
days and
days.
let them have that time to get their building permits
So let's
in.
say I own a piece of property there, right, in East Town, and you say no more. And you say, but you have 60 days to get a permit.
Well, just permit submitted.
Yeah, so how long can that permit stay submitted?
Well, so a building permit,
For like 30 years?
no, a building permit has 180 days, and by code you get 2 extensions. So a year and a half at max. And then it has to be issued and you have to start construction. So that would allow, but we're just, the effective, so say, for example, if you would say, prohibit them, but put the effective date out 60 days, they would have 60 days to submit a complete building permit application.
So is construction, can I go put a shed on there and rent it to my neighbor?
No. They would have to start construction of the project that they are proposing.
Right.
But the vesting would,
I know.
I'm just trying to look out for there are people, right, that they're like, that
that's-
may be what, do we have a feeling how many people really just want to put up self-storage?
well, as I said, they are becoming,
Well, as apartments keep going
How do you
in and
figure that
stuff,
out?
you're gonna
Well,
have
those are
that.
the yellow dots.
Well, so I was kind of hoping actually to turn the Tarragon thing into, can we zone that to just self-storage?
Yeah.
yes, you would like to.
That would solve that problem. I mean, if we're going to violate somebody's property rights, let's
Well,
violate that one, because
there's
that serves everybody out there better.
Well, I would say it's not a violation of property rights. The decision of what uses are permitted in the city are, it's a legislative council decision. Just like we have one person who has been after us for close to 7 years to allow him to build a marijuana shop.
Yep.
And we prohibit marijuana shops. So it's,
He's still coming back?
Oh, yeah.
he pops up every once in a while.
Ask Gwen and how long it took for her to get the phone call.
Yeah, it pops up every once in a while that. But my point is when it comes to permitted uses, the council has a lot of discretion in what they can allow and not allow in a
As long
town.
as we do it area-wide.
As long as you do it, yeah, this is citywide prohibition, and
I
we,
have a hard time right off the main rag of the city. We talked about this before we blocked off 410. I mean, if we have places that would make sense for retail stores, I don't want a storage place there. If you've got a setback to another ways off of it, then I think
most of these are all properties that are just right on 410.
that I don't want. That should be a retail, because our retail space is still limited as it is. And obviously, there's no retailer, but people, as they grow, they gotta go someplace to shop. We gotta have more retail stores available to them.
So I guess for you, Councilmember Klimas, there's 2 ways you can look at it. One, we could write the ordinance. If we did the prohibition, it says you have 60 days. So the people that are on this list that we've been talking to, we will let them know that.
Yeah.
And then they can make the choice whether or not they'll want to go through with that. Or I pulled 60 days out of my head.
How many of the properties in East Town have changed hands since we put sewer out there?
Not many, because we
We
haven't put sewer out there yet. We put a lift station. We're hoping that,
Did that a long time ago.
we're hoping with Chris Lear's project
That will get sewer.
that we'll
yeah.
get sewer.
Right.
We're trying to work.
Well, that changes everything,
Chris
right?
has bought
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you were to look at your,
Chris Lear?
Chris Lair.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
yeah, because he's,
Well, yes, who changed hands, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
But-
bought those.
but yeah, and then the other one that changed hand was where we have SCS, the fencing contractor. But there hasn't been a lot of big swings. Daffodil, I think, is a change in property ownership.
I just don't want to on retail.
yeah, you know what, I agree with that. I mean, in principle,
But
it's like,
back, setback,
that's, and
I don't
that's
know
what the council's here to do, is make those hard decisions, right? But I'm just trying to find my way through how you let property owners know that you're changing the rules, right?
Well,
And how
Yeah.
recent, so,
so what we can, and I knew this was going to be part, so I already kind of thought, how would we do this
Yeah.
mechanically? We are going to have a public hearing with the planning commission because it's a zoning code change. We have to come back to CDC. It has to go to full council for final adoption or consent or full agenda. That could be CDC's decision. We can also specifically let the property owners or project contacts we have for those ones that are on the list that this
Right.
is going forward. So if you want to get your project vested, you need to
Get on the stick.
move on the stick and get it done. So if they're really seriously, truly committed to doing the
so
project.
if you do that, then can everybody just come out and get their permit, right? And then in a year,
Yeah,
we
they
could
could.
have, they had the wherewithal and they wanted to, they could.
If they wouldn't have spent the money, because remember, submitting a permit is not a free exercise.
Right.
Because there's the cost of drawing all the plans.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's not just submitting the applications. I'd have to have all the plans with all the components
I would
and all
agree
the
with that.
fees.
And why don't we like self-storage units again?
No
Because we don't
retail
get,
sales,
we
no.
don't get any
No
tax.
retail
Tax drop
tax.
on them.
It's all about money,
There's very little employment, if any.
right?
3 or 4 employees.
But man, if you're a property owner and you want to be in that business, that is a cash cow beyond belief. It is
Absolutely.
the perfect business. It's like, oh my
Everybody
Lord.
stores their stuff.
So,
That is
so,
like awesome.
so some of the things that
Doesn't
were
get any better.
brought up during the planning commission about storage facilities, there was kind of three. I would group them into three. One, there is the revenue side. There,
Yeah.
just not a lot of tax revenue. Two, there's not a lot of job creation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not helping the city achieve their job creation goals. And then another one brought up is they are also become police issues
Yeah.
for people buying stuff and storing them in.
Yep.
And that was one of, yeah, buying or stealing one way or the other. That was one of we have a former King County detective on planning commission. Sometimes they can become.
I buy all my liquor, the one over here behind Target, Takes it out, puts it out, throws it out.
So at this point, you're not making a decision. We're just looking for, of the three options, which one do you want us to proceed with? You can always change your mind when we bring back the final ordinance.
Sure.
We're aware of that.
Do many cities do that?
I don't know.
Some cities are moving that direction.
Well,
Yeah.
only because we already have some.
Yeah, I mean, if you depending on when you set the effective date, you could still have 700,000 square feet of these things.
I wish the county would get it in their head to allow them some kind of a permitted, use or whatever in the unincorporated area.
There we go.
And like have
You
at
don't
it.
allow that?
Well, I
You
don't
don't allow
know.
that?
I guess not. I guess they
Oh,
consider
I
it some
thought they
kind of
just,
commercial
seriously,
view
I
or
was like,
something.
oh.
Oh, wait. So the county doesn't allow them?
Not in the rural, no.
That's like a no.
Well, I was thinking going back to Holly would be a great spot.
I think they allow them in what they call their a LIMERD, a low intensity rural area development, which is what you see down there going in at the bottom of the hill at 162. By the old McCutcheon Grange.
I wonder what that big building
We
was there.
get Kelly on the bandwagon.
You can be half.
You got to move it really slow, a lot of dancing.
I would say ban them because, if something would happen that they property behind Target, he sells it and it could be all a huge storage unit there, We've talked about off of 410. That's setback far enough to have storage, the whole thing there. As an example.
Good. That's the hardest part.
See, my problem with this is, if I do this and I violate my basic principles on property rights, then I'm bound to tell Tarragon to take a look. No.
Different analysis,
Why
different.
is it different?
Different
You're
analysis.
violating people's property rights.
We're not condemning their
We're
property.
not condemning it, setting permitted, because if that was your stance, you would have to say marijuana shops are allowed throughout the city.
Yeah. And then,
Because-
a garage paint place could
I
go
get
next
it.
to your neighborhood
I
or
get it.
whatever, you know.
And we do
and
the same
multifamily
thing,
use,
And that's the
so-
same thing we do with single family.
It's not, the marijuana thing is not quite, because
Really?
storage
Oh, come
units are
on
not
now.
federally banned, right?
Well, and the
I
same
mean,
thing.
the real problem with marijuana
But
stuff.
I think
Oh my
the
gosh,
council,
you're going down that road?
the
Come
Absolutely.
on.
council,
Absolutely.
another way to look at this too, Councilor Climas,
No,
is
it's,
we tell people where they can build stuff all the time. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about it, we don't allow storage facilities in the
Yeah.
R1.
Yeah.
Like a public safety discussion.
Yeah, no, then we'll have a
So
ban,
we'll
have no
bring the
voting,
ordinance back,
no,
we'll bring the
yeah.
ordinance back with a prohibition,
Wait.
talking about the effective date, and then it may pass, it may not.
Yeah, and you don't have to convince me. I'm thinking about this because it is a complex issue, right? It's not a trivial issue. So I'm gonna, just lots and lots of,
People's
I
rights
get it,
to own the
yeah.
property.
yeah. You're not concerned about federal laws?
Nobody is. I'm 100% concerned. I took an oath to uphold
the
federal law
Constitution!
and the laws of the United States of
Correct.
America, right?
Right.
And then, so how can you have a marijuana?
Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
Huh?
But you got off the subject
Huh?
here.
Yeah.
They took the same oth. Every state official here took the same oath.
Yeah.
Look at the time.
And at the time, come on.
Awkward.
I have a question. Another subject.
Yes, sir.
What is going on with the old restaurant in Easttown out there?
That has been purchased by Chris Lear. Our
Look at that.
Easttown developer.
Babbitt got it back.
No, Babbitt got it back and then Lear bought it from Babbitt and the property to the side. And is working with the 410 auto dealership that's further out to put a auto dealership there and then keep the commercial kitchen to do something with.
This further demonstrates that this is.
Lear's City
Is
and
it-
the sidekicks.
And her sidekick. Yeah, I was gonna say, and his sidekick. So is
It
that Babbitt or Babcock?
was Babcock, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Babcock. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he got it back.
Yeah.
He got it, he sold it, then
Yeah.
he got it back.
Yeah.
And
So
then
now he sold it.
And then Chris bought that one and the one next to it and is trying to get it all up and running. So yes, the
Does all the
Unofficial-
car lot then?
car lot. And it's just moving the one that's further out in Easttown.
Aren't they banned?
He
Yeah.
got vested.
No, he's
He already
vested.
has one. Okay.
That is a property right. Vesting is a true
Yeah,
property
because you
right.
make a lot of money because they're, yeah.
All right. So is that it then, Tom?
That's all I got.
All right. Kelly,
Thanks, guys.
anything?
Thank
Okay.
you
Thank
all
you.
for
Yeah.
humor me. Good work,
Good work,
guys.
guys.
Good work.
$100,000 pick.